Hey, beautiful people. Hey, beautiful people. Miss McGregor here. I'm going to read to you the preface of Omnivore's Dilemma. So let's get started. This book just might change your life. I know that sounds a little over the top, doesn't it? I wouldn't make such a bold claim, except that in the years since The Omnivore's Dilemma was first published in 2006, thousands of readers have told me that sometimes in letters, in emails, or other times even in person, including complete strangers, your book changed my life. I'm always surprised to hear it because that certainly wasn't my goal when I sat down to write the book. And changing people's lives sounds like a big responsibility. So usually I go and then say something like, in a good way, I hope. But I'm always curious and want to find out what they mean. So I often ask them to tell me exactly how they've changed since reading the book. The answers are very different, often surprising and usually extremely gratifying. Some people tell me that they've lost weight after reading the book, and then they pull out snapshots of their larger former selves. Apparently, what they learned in the book about how fast food is made convinced them to stop eating, and then the pounds began to fall off. Even though this is definitely not a diet book. Other people tell me that they've read The Omnivore's Dilemma and decided to change their career and become a farmer. How's that working out for you, I ask, a little nervously, since farming is a tough way to make a living. They usually tell me that the work is incredibly hard, but also incredibly satisfying. And they wouldn't dream of doing anything else with their lives. Whew. Many people tell me that the book changed the way they think about eating. And now they spend a lot more time deciding what to put in their mouths. The book has made them aware of how food affects the environment or animals or their own health. And then they say they want to start voting with their forks, an idea that I'll explain later. For young people, that can mean encouraging their parents to shop differently, to buy organic or local food. For example, sorry, parents are used to their kids making all sorts of demands about food, usually for the latest sugary cereal or any energy drink. And so they're pleasantly surprised when their kids start asking for organic vegetables or for eggs from small farms where chickens live outdoors and eat a natural diet. Then there are the vegetarians and meat eaters whose reactions to the books could not have been any more different. I've heard from a lot of readers who say that after reading about the way animals were treated in factory farms, they felt like they could no longer eat meat and decided to become vegetarians, even though the book is not an argument against eating meat. So I figured that one of the impacts of the book was to inspire vegetarianism until I started hearing from the vegetarians whose reactions really surprised me. Here's a typical letter from a vegetarian high schooler. I haven't eaten a bit I haven't eaten a bite of meat since I was 6. But after reading your book, I decided to start eating meat again. I never knew there were farms like Polyface in Virginia where the animals are treated so well and get to live happy lives. I want to support these kind of farms, so I now eat that kind of humanely raised meat when I can. Instead of calling myself a vegetarian, now I call myself a conscious carnivore. The fact that the carnivores and vegetarians responded in two totally different ways to the same information tells me the book is doing its job. That job is simply to get us to think about something that hardly ever crosses our mind, where our food comes from and how it gets to us. So I really like the idea that two people could read the same book and come to such radically different conclusions. I didn't write The Omnivore's Dilemma to convince you to eat one kind of food over another. My aim was to give you the information you needed to make good choices. What's a good choice? That's simple. It's the one that allows you to be true to your values, to what you care most about. The fact is, our food choices are some of the most important choices we get to make in life. The way we eat has a bigger effect on our health and the health of our planet than any other activity. Four of the top 10 diseases that kill Americans are a result of a bad diet. What you put on your plate changes nature more than anything else you do. If that sounds over the top, think about it. Farming has changed the landscape more than any other human activity. Agriculture has also determined which species of animals are thriving: cows, chickens, and pigs, the ones we eat, and which are in trouble: wolves and the other predators that want to eat the ones we want to eat. And though you're probably well aware of how the fossil fuel your family uses to heat your home or power your car contributes to climate change, did you know that the farming and food industry produce even more greenhouse gases than all forms of transportation put together? That's what I mean when I say the way you eat affects the world more than anything else you do. That might sound like a big responsibility, and it is, but it's a great opportunity, especially for people your age. Why? Because although you won't be able to vote in the elections until you're 18, you can vote with your fork now by choosing foods that reflect your values and to avoid the ones that don't. Best of all, you can vote this way not once, but 3 times a day. Hmm. Does this sort of voting make a difference? Without a doubt. Consider the changes that we've seen in the last few years. When The Omnivore's Dilemma was published in 2006, there were 4,000 farmer markets in America. Now, there are more than 18,000. In 2006, organic food was a $15 billion industry. Now it's a $35 billion industry. The market for sustainable raised meat, milk, and eggs have exploded for the last decade. A new generation of young people are starting sustainable farms. One for the most popular internships for college students today is working on an organic farm. Since Michelle Obama planted an organic vegetable garden on the grounds of the White House, the number of Americans growing vegetables at home has soared to about 35% of all families. And a whole range of food and farming issues that had never been on the public's radar are now being debated across the country and in Washington, D.C. One of the most exciting developments we've seen in the last decade or so of a is the rise of a food movement in America, a movement to change the way we produce and consume food so that farmers, food workers, animals, the land, and the environment are all treated with greater respect. There's a lot we can all do to push the food system in the right direction, but it begins with informing yourself about what's at stake and then voting with your fork now, and then voting in a few years with your ballot for the kind of world you would like to live in. This book is an invitation to think about both the problems of how we produce food today and some of the inspiring solutions people are coming up with to build a better world, a better food system for everyone and everything it touches. Welcome to the conversation. Michael Pollan, 2015.